Nolan and Xavier Wells' family has officially hired civil rights attorney Ben Crump, making it clear they are no longer willing to wait for answers.
They are still in disbelief, Don. It's like they say they're in a nightmare and they can't wake up. They still have so many questions as to how their son, who was set on Monday to have his tryouts because he is a Division II college athlete, and this was going to be his year. He was having workouts, he was doing training, and so they know that he was very focused on moving to a Division I program, and so they're just shocked that we're in 48 hours of one of the most consequential days of his life, this would happen. They are just in disbelief. And the reason that's so relevant, Don Lemon, is, there was an alleged argument, and people say that was over things about he was being very clear to not have anything to do with anything that might get in his system because he knew he had his big workout coming on Monday. And so that's why they're like just not accepting any of this, Don. They are not accepting that their son just died by coincidence or accident.
Ben, do we know what that argument was? Do we know specifically if it was Nolan and people with him?
Well, we have an investigator talking to some of their friends, and we're gathering information. And when we get that information, we will share it because we want to be transparent. We don't want to speculate, but we want to investigate. And that's very critical here. That's why, Don Lemon, we are having an independent autopsy done on top of whatever autopsy was done by the state of Mississippi. We're going to have him flown to a medical examiner in Washington, D.C., where his body will be preserved to do an autopsy to study every aspect of if he had any physical injuries to his body beyond drowning.
Mm-hmm. And where are you in that process now?
The body is going to be flown today. We expect to have the results of that independent autopsy on Friday.
Mm-hmm. Ben, what does the autopsy show? Have they given you any information from the autopsy they did? What is that showing?
They haven't given us any information. Obviously, they are saying it's an investigation going on. And, at this point, I believe the sheriff said that they believe that he was left on something. We don't know what the story is, but they're saying it was an unfortunate accident. They're not telling the family anything about whether it was foul play or not. And so that's why the family is so desperate for answers, because they're saying, we don't want you to just wrap this investigation and say, oh, well, it was just an accident and sweep it under the rug.
Mm. Are they saying anything? Are they declaring it a homicide? Or they're declaring it accidental? What's the official cause now? And I know that can change, and that's why you're having your own independent autopsy and investigation.
As far as we know, his mother, Christine, and his father, Elmo, say they haven't gotten any answers. They, have been asked to turn over his cell phone to the Mississippi law enforcement authorities. But even that is troubling to them because they're saying messages that were deleted from his cell phone. So they want to try to dot every I and cross every T and investigate everything. They said it's very improbable that Nolan would not have wanted his cell phone with him if he was going to stay on the island.
Mm-hmm. There were deleted text messages on his phone? His parents found that? Who found that out?
No, well, they got his phone, so they're trying to figure out there's deletions on the phone and they're trying to look at what is that about. There's so many inconsistencies going on. And so we're going to have with our investigators and our associates, we're going to list all the inconsistencies down. We just got onto the case yesterday. So we have been staying up late with the family, talking to friends, talking to people who were there on that 4th of July, trying to piece together what really happened to Nolan Wells, what caused him to be a healthy, young college athlete and then to end up dead, washed up on the shore on Monday morning after 4th of July weekend.
Just to clarify, you said you're doing your own independent autopsy. And Ben, you and I have been through, sadly, similar situations like this. But you have your own independent investigators, too. You're independently investigating this, I am sure.
Absolutely, Don. We are leading this investigation from the parents' perspective. The parents want to know objectively. They don't want to rely on the state of Mississippi investigation to be the end of the story here. And so as you reminisce, Don, there's so many cases that we worked on that it was our independent autopsies, our independent investigations that got us to where we were able to get some measure of justice, whether that was Breonna Taylor, whether that was Ahmaud Arbery, whether that was George Floyd, and all these number of tragedies where young Black lives were taken from this earth far too soon. And now here we are yet again. And I know it's challenging because when we look at the history of the state of Mississippi, it has not been what we call equal justice for Black people in America. When you look at the history of Mississippi, this is the state where Emmett Till was lynched.
Look, I'm from one state over in Louisiana. So trust me, I know. And that said, Ben, there have been people who have been pointing out on the internet, some prominent people saying, imagine if the situation was reversed. If it was 3 Black boys or young men who went out with a white young man and the white young man ended up dead, imagine the outrage and the news coverage and the demands of investigations as well.
Yeah, and that's the crux of the matter, Don Lemon. That's why I'm so grateful to you and your network for, at the very beginning, covering this matter. So often when Black lives are taken, it is the media of people who have compassion and care for our community that make mainstream media pay attention. And I think this is one of those situations. And if the crux of the matter, if these were 3 Black kids with a white kid and that white kid ends up dead after they claim they left him, they can't remember anything, but they have their cell phone, you have to ponder whether they would be treating this as a murder investigation or if this was what they call just investigation into accidental death. You have to ponder that. You can't be being honest with yourself if you say they would not have treated this investigation differently.
Ben, was he a strong swimmer?
His mother and father say he was a strong swimmer. He was an athlete. He was about to be a Division I wide receiver, Don. Athletes have to maintain their physical prowess. Their bodies are in extraordinary shape. And that's what they believe Nolan Wells was, an extraordinary athlete.
Yeah, I mean, look, the evidence is there. We can see his record. We can see who he looks, a good-looking, healthy young man. Ben, anything else? If something comes out of this autopsy, you said you expect to get the results by Friday, correct?
Yes, sir. Friday morning, we plan to have them.
And depending on what comes out of this autopsy, then you'll figure out where to go next. Now, I know that they've been saying, go ahead, I'm sorry, go on.
Mm-hmm. No, you're absolutely right. In different times that you and I have talked about these cases, and you use your platform to give a voice to these victims, oftentimes we would turn to the Department of Justice. But here, I think we're going to have to work with the local authorities and the state of Mississippi if we find any instances of foul play to get some criminal culpability. But we are still in the infant stages of the investigation now. And this independent autopsy is going to be very important for many, many reasons, Don Lemon, many, many reasons. And so as soon as we get that, we will come back on and talk to you about the findings and what they mean.
Yeah. I know that you look, we have a time crunch here, and I understand that because you're very busy and you're working on this case. I just need to know, they said that these were childhood friends or longtime friends. Or have you been able to investigate that? Is that true?
Apparently they all went to high school together, Don Lemon. And, these young men come from prominent families in the Ocean Springs community. And so we are trying to get to the bottom of this one way or the other. We know that they have attorneys, so they are not speaking at this time, but we intend at some point to hear from them as to what happened on that Horn Island off the Gulf Coast of Mississippi on July 4th weekend. And so that's what we're waiting for. And we have to keep pushing, Don. And thank you. And thank you to your audience. Thank you to everybody on social media. Thank you to everybody who gave on GoFundMe so they can afford investigators and independent autopsies, because it is very difficult when you're trying to get the truth to be revealed when it seems like people are not trying to be transparent.
Yeah. We spoke to Ben, a member of the Cajun Navy, who was looking for part of the search. And he said the mother, at the time that we were recording it yesterday, that the mother had not had an opportunity to view the body, either yesterday or the day before. Has the mother had an opportunity to view the body yet?
Not at this time.
Oh, man. And why is that? Is that because, is that normal, Ben? Is that procedural?
No, I think they just got the body back yesterday, and so they are preparing the body for the independent autopsy. And I will say this, Don, we don't know the condition of his body, and so obviously that's going to be a hard decision, I think, for his father, if his wife Christine would be able to look at, his body, if it's disfigured in any way. We don't know. We're going to find that out. Just keep them in prayer, because this is every parent's worst nightmare.
Look, don't I know it? Look, as you know, my sister died of a drowning back in 2018. My other sister died in May of last year, and my mother has not been the same in my family. It's just not the way it's supposed to happen. We think our parents, we don't like it, but they will go before us. But for a parent to lose a child is one of the worst things, if not the worst thing that can happen. Services, are they waiting until after the autopsy, or are they going to do something?
Wait until after the autopsy.
Okay.
And, I know they're planning memorials at his college as well as his old high school. I mean, young people, you don't expect 18 and 19-year-old friends to die. And so it's always devastating, not only to his family, but to all those in his community, all those young people who consider him a friend that they thought they were going to spend their life together, on this journey. And now he's gone. And it's so painful to everybody in that community. Ben
Crump, thank you so much. Please keep us updated, and our regards to the family, and come back and let us know what's going on. And if the mom wants to come on, or any of the family members, let us know. Thank you.
I'm sure Miss Christine is going to come on because she's very grateful to you, Don.
Thank you. Ben Crump, we appreciate it.
Ben Crump announced that his team has been retained to represent the Wells family. promising to pursue every fact surrounding Nolan's final hours.
The family is doing what is their right, which frankly, many families, hundreds of thousands of families do not get the opportunity to do. They've got able counsel and Attorney Crump, who has assisted so many families in his work in the past. They now have independent investigators. They will now have an independent autopsy. So they will ultimately have answers. So many things happen, Don, and they are swept under the rug, or no one cares enough, or no one can afford what it costs in order to do this. So that's what's being done. But where the facts are concerned, we don't have enough. And so I am watching people just be who people are on social media and jump to conclusions and make their own theories of the case and make statements that frankly are based on the history of race and racism in this country. And all of those things are understandable. But at this point, we just don't know.
Questions continue to grow after authorities said Nolan was believed to have stayed behind on the island while the others left by boat.
We have to stop putting our kids in these sporting events, in these schools, in these environments where they are the anomaly. We have to stop doing it. Okay, you want your child to have the best education, the best experiences, the best everything. Yes, but they also need to be around their own culture. They need to.
So let me get this right. Nolan Wells, an 18-year-old kid, goes missing at Horn Lake. And all y'all want to talk about is how, oh man, you're the black kid, don't go out with nothing but whites. Y'all somehow turn this incident into a racism controversy yet again. Y'all have sick, disgusting comments in every comment section, while this mother and this father and these friends that went out on this boat are losing their shit because this boy's missing. Yet y'all want to stay in the comment section and talk about, oh man, he should have knew better. He shouldn't have done that. Why? Because he grew up with them his entire life? They're best friends? It really triggers me how this world is just totally incompetent to just sit there and look. Every time there's a black person and a white person involved in something or something happens, it strictly goes to racism. That's your number one output right now.
That explanation has sparked intense debate online, with many people wondering why someone would be left behind on an island that can only be reached by water.
Black people have got to stop hanging out with groups of white people. And I mean that. If you're going to be the only black person in that group, go home. Go home. Because these days, you just can't trust white people anymore. Obviously. It happens time and time and time again. You see one black person hanging out with their group of white friends, and they're like, oh, I've known these guys for forever. We grew up with them. I'm the only black person in the high school or something like that. Especially down here in the South, okay? Down here in the South. Obviously, we realize that these pieces of crap, the white people, will turn on you.
Popular opinion, right? That young man, Nolan Wells, yeah, he was taken out by those white boys. Because who the fuck else would have done it? Like, there's one black boy on a boat with all white people, and the black boy is the only one that goes missing or ends up dead. This has happened so many times over the course of a decade. Black people will be the only ones in the room or on a boat with white people, and they always somehow seem to end up dead or in the water. And to the people, it's always the white people who do this shit. They want black people to be oblivious to the lynchings and the killings and the racism that happens to black people. They always want us to be oblivious and not make it a race thing when it is clear as day that it is always going to be a race thing. That boy was killed by those white people. The only issue is that living in this country that we live in, it's going to be hard for them to be prosecuted.
The investigation is still ongoing, and officials have not released a final determination about exactly what happened.
My mama always told me, if you the only birthday candle at the birthday party, you not there for the birthday party, you there to be depressing. Huh? Nolan Wells and this whole entire thing down there in Mississippi look fishy. One of the boys' mama is a judge down there. Don't nobody know what happened.
However, Nolan's parents have made one thing clear. They want accountability, transparency, and every piece of evidence thoroughly examined. Until those answers come, the Wells family says they will continue fighting to learn what really happened to Nolan Xavier Wells.